In the Chesapeake Bay, off the coast of Virginia, lies a small island locked in a battle against time and tide. This is Tangier Island, a place with a centuries-old history which could be almost entirely underwater before the next century, potentially making its residents the first climate change refugees in the continental United States. First mapped by the famous explorer Captain John Smith in 1608, Tangier Island was settled by fishermen from Cornwall, England, in the 17th century. For hundreds of years, their descendants have lived in this remote spot, developing a unique way of life and even their own distinct dialect of English, a remnant of the speech of those first settlers. Life here is quiet and close-knit. The roughly 400 residents mostly get around on golf carts and bicycles, and their lives are deeply connected to the water, with the local economy almost entirely dependent on harvesting blue crabs and oysters from the bay. This unique heritage has earned the island a place on the National Register of Historic Places. But this historic community is facing an existential threat. The very water that has sustained them for generations is now threatening to swallow their home. Since 1850, Tangier Island has lost about two-thirds of its land. The problem is twofold. First, global sea levels are rising at an accelerating rate due to climate change. With an average elevation of only about 3 feet, the island is extremely vulnerable. Second, the land in the Chesapeake Bay region is naturally sinking. This process, known as glacial rebound, is a long-term effect from the last ice age. Thousands of years ago, massive glaciers pressed down on the northern part of the continent, causing the land on the edges, like the Chesapeake region, to bulge upwards. Now that the glaciers have melted, the northern lands are rising, and this bulge is slowly sinking back down. This combination of rising water and sinking land is a recipe for disaster for a low-lying island like Tangier. Scientists who study the island are clear in their predictions. They warn that without major intervention, the habitable parts of Tangier will turn into wetlands, making it impossible to live there. The island would become uninhabitable within the next 50 to 100 years. However, not everyone on the island sees it the same way. Many residents, including Mayor James Ooker Eskridge, have historically been skeptical about the role of climate change. They tend to see the problem as erosion, the relentless washing away of the shoreline by waves and storms, something they have witnessed their entire lives. From their perspective, the solution isn't necessarily to address global climate change, but to build practical defenses like seawalls and stone jetties to protect their land. The situation has also sparked a national conversation, with some labeling the residents of Tangier as potential climate change refugees. It's a term many on the island strongly reject. They see themselves as a resilient community fighting to save their ancestral home, not as victims waiting for a handout. In fact, you can even find T-shirts sold on the island that say, "I refuse to be a climate change refugee." Saving Tangier Island would be an enormous and costly challenge. A 2021 study estimated that a full protection and restoration plan would cost between $250 and $350 million. This would involve building extensive stone walls around the island's vulnerable areas and upgrading the town's infrastructure to cope with more frequent flooding. The island's homes, its school, churches, and the docks essential for the crabbing industry are all at risk. The loss of Tangier would not just be a loss of land, it would be the end of a unique American culture, preserved for centuries by its isolation. Despite the daunting challenge, there is a growing effort to save the island. In recent years, a new sense of urgency has brought officials and residents together. In May 2024, federal, state, and local leaders met with the community to create a state-certified resilience plan, a crucial step for securing the large-scale funding needed for major protection projects. Those efforts are beginning to pay off. In May 2025, U.S. Senators Mark Warner and Tim Kaine announced a significant injection of federal funds. Over $15 million were allocated for coastal resilience in Virginia, with more than 10 of that money specifically designated for Tangier Island. This money is intended for dredging the channel and then using that dredged material to build up the island and fight erosion. Senator Kaine also pointed to other funds secured in 2024 and 2025 to push forward with building seawalls and other protective structures. The U.S.
Army Corps of Engineers is already involved in projects, including the construction of a stone jetty to protect the vital harbor. The story of Tangier has also been gaining national attention. A recent documentary called Been Here, Stay Here, filmed over 6 years, highlights the island's unique culture and its fight for survival. The film aims to bring wider awareness to the plight of this small community on the front lines of a changing climate. Tangier Island is at a crossroads. It is a microcosm of a larger global issue, a place where the abstract science of climate change meets the concrete reality of people's lives, homes, and heritage. The recent infusion of funding offers a glimmer of hope, a chance to fight back against the encroaching waters. But the question remains, will it be enough to save this unique piece of American history from disappearing beneath the waves of the Chesapeake Bay? The fate of Tangier Island in the coming decades will be a powerful testament to the challenges we all face in an era of rising seas.